Well, that's a wrap on Northfield. Not without its controversy, as you saw. We'll run through, as I said, I forgot to post the afternoon races, so I'll post them both at the same time. Talked about everything that went on at the Meadows, now Northfield Park, and Yonkers. We had a second with 5 fish species. I thought she raced rather well. Again, somebody messaged her, why wasn't she on the front? Well, there's no gimmies in horse racing, and if Tyler Buter thought he had a better chance of winning on the front, that's likely where he would have been. I thought that the filly raced good again, as she generally does, as she generally has through the latter part of the season, has thrown up some great numbers and looked very good. And to be clear, to be fair, if she continues to race the way she did, she's also another sophomore that's going to close in on $100,000 made. We saw Coup Deville go over that mark tonight. Let's start with the start of the night, though. What a Mission made a break. Now, we had him entered Wednesday, Saturday. He's not going to race on Saturday. He was a little under the weather tonight. Track was really hard. He was kind of uncomfortable. And, there's a horse I would like to race him off the pace, but he gets so friggin' hot at the gate. Not crazy hot, but he'll fight with you and fight with you and fight with you. Now, what you can do is keep him off the gate a half length, and then you can kind of wrestle him back into a position. Problem was, with the track being as hard as it was tonight, he was a little extra crispy, a little extra warm tonight, and ended up making a break coming out of there. That was a salty enough crew tonight anyway, 56 in a piece. I don't know if he would have tried him 56 tonight. He just didn't feel super comfortable. No lameness, nothing like that. Is it the year? Is he a little tired? Maybe. I could maybe be talked into a little 2 or 3 week rest for him. For those of you out there asking me, and I get questions all the time, what about this horse leaving? Is this horse going to leave? When's this horse leave? What a Mission only has 3 lifetime wins, I believe, parimutuel victories. So he has lots of room to move. There's a horse that we can sell when we want. There's no necessity to sell him. So I'm not really in a big hurry to move What a Mission. He's going to do us some good, but did feel a little under the weather tonight. So maybe check to see if he ate his breakfast in the morning. Have the vet maybe come in, draw blood on him. We'll get to the bottom of it, but I think ultimately maybe a couple of weeks out in the field while there's still some field left might benefit What a Mission. But overall, I think the break, I think there was a number of components that went into him making that break tonight. The biggest one was the track being hard. They did end up cutting it right after his race, of course. By cutting it, what I mean is, so what they did predominantly tonight was just screen the track with a flat screen, and it hardened the track right up. And by the time I got there, it was race 4, and when I went out to post parade, I'm like, usually if there's rain coming, they'll screen the track, they'll close the track. They'll either roll it, screen it, or both. Well, tonight the track, it just felt like they had literally just rolled it and screened it. It was hard as a rock. And I guess last night there was a lot of people complaining about how loose it was, so maybe they went to the other extreme. I'm not really sure what they did, but right after his race, they did end up opening up. What they'll do is put the conditioner on the track, dig into the track a little bit, maybe put the diamond harrow that they have with the little spikes, and just scratch it up a little bit. And they didn't until after his race, and I can assure you he was feeling it, because even as I was way back, Chris Lem said it made 2 breaks, and as I was way back, even in the last turn, I could feel him biting the right line, and we weren't going any. Might have been going a quarter in 34 seconds. So I would say Mission, just the track caught up with him a little bit tonight. But again, I want to see this horse in the morning. I want to see, has he eaten everything? Does he feel good? Talk to Jason about maybe getting him a couple of weeks out in the grass just to relax. Maybe even 3 weeks as we head into the fall and into the winter. So that was What a Mission. Halakai, I thought, was awesome. She's definitely going to be sitting on a win next week. It feels like it anyway. The way she raced really turned into a nice filly for us. If you'd asked me after her first start, I'd be like, oh, wow, I don't know about this thing's attitude. We just changed her bridle a little bit. Did not put the earplugs in her again. She definitely doesn't like those. and she raced great her next start, an easy winner by like 8 or 10 lengths, and then come right out her next start, finished a decent second. But tonight, one of her better miles tonight, did her work very good and looked very good. I was really, really happy with Halakai, the third tonight. Then, as I said, Five Fish Species raced good, a good second place finish for her. A Sliver of Fashion raced great, get up the inside and won. Only problem with his victory, now it moves him up into the next class. Can he do in there? We're going to have to find out at least once or twice. I don't know. That's Coop's class. Up in there, that's a salty crew, and I don't know if Sliver wants any part of them. And I know people are going to say, well, he's tried it in 56. Not here, he hasn't. He tried it in 58, but not with this crew. This is a different, he'll be moving up into a foreign company, I can assure you of that. So we'll see. Trot's nice. I was happy with his work ethic tonight. He could have been an okay second, and instead he was a very good first. So really, really happy with a Sliver of Fashion. And then Coup Deville's race. Now, I'll start with Unique Style. Didn't race good. We're going to turn this guy's shoes around the right way now, and hope that was it. Otherwise, he's probably not going to stay with us that long. He'll win in that class, but once he leaves that class, he's even a step below a Sliver of Fashion, I believe. There's nothing wrong with that. Well bought for what we bought him for. I think he's going to hold his value, but when it comes to Unique Style, a little disappointed tonight. Yeah, he was out all 4 turns, but I wasn't going back into the 7 hole behind that horse. You saw where he finished in the first turn. I get it. I'm not asking for any freebies. You didn't want to let me in the 6 hole. I get it, but I'm not going in the 7 hole behind you. So I just stayed on the outside, caught cover, tried to catch cover, but he kind of lost cover down the backstretch, around the last turn. Just didn't feel good. So we're going to spin his shoes back around the right way, maybe even just put an aluminum shoe on him. I was happy with the way he did his work. He just didn't have enough output. Didn't have enough of it. So he'll do fine in that class, but after that class might be a problem. We'll see how this plays out with Unique Style. Tonight he just wasn't good. He just wasn't good, plain and simple. So I'm going to hope and chalk it up to his shoes. I'd mentioned this and referenced it last week, that those shoes turned around backwards. Maybe he was slipping, maybe he wasn't getting a hold of the track really good. It's very possible. So it's very simple. We'll turn them back around, put a lighter shoe with a little more grab. That aluminum alloy shoe has a lot more grab to it, and that might be a little bit of a help for Unique Style. Now, Coup Deville. A lot went on in that race. On paper, there was only 2 horses in the race, myself and the 9 horse. So the job would be to stay ahead of the 9, right? I don't want to get myself in a position where the 9 horse is quarter poling and I'm stuck at the rail. It was pretty clear. The 2 and 5 were going out of there, and it was pretty clear that maybe Hunter wanted to race his horse on the front. I wanted to hold position along the rail, and then Pat, I think Pat's name, he made a break in the middle. It was his own horse too. I felt bad, but it's the way it is. I had to hold position with Coup Deville. So I end up in the 2 hole, but I'm in no hurry. I know who's right on my back. It's a 9 horse. Coop was a little bumpy in the first turn. Remember, she'd made a break on Brett Miller earlier in the season in the 5/8 mile track going out of there. So I'm not going to put her in a position to make a break. I want to settle her through the first turn. Now we're heading to the quarter pole. Hunter's going lots up front. This is not Northfield posts, prior to 6 weeks ago. It's a different track now. This track plays more like a half-mile track. Northfield Park of before, and I'd said this to somebody tonight, it's not even the distance of the track. It wasn't the distance, it was the way it played. It was just a different half. I've never been on a half-mile track. Maybe Delaware, but not really. Not really ever been on a half-mile track like that. And now the Northfield track feels like a half. Feels like Grand River. Feels like Flamborough, London. Feels like all the other half-mile tracks I've been on in my life. So, I'm just taking my time, First and foremost, job number 1 is to keep Coup Deville trotting. So she didn't give me any concerns in the first turn, but in the second turn, put a couple of bumps in. Now, as we're coming to the half, if Greg moves at that point, I can't come out of the 2 hole at this point. That was the only time that he could move where I wasn't coming. We start into the backstretch. Hunter's still 2.5 lengths ahead, but I'm just listening for Greg. And as soon as he starts off my back, I start out also. Now, the judges did call because there was an inquiry. Greg had made a break and it was clear that he'd run over my sulky. And as the judges picked up the phone, and I told them the same thing I just told you. And I said, I know what Greg was trying to do. I've been there 100 times before. But I've also been on the other side of that 100 times before. I'm not going back in the 2-hole. If you watch the head-on, Hunter's horse is a length and a half off the rail. So I'm out. I'm out in the 2-wide lane before Greg Rismore ever moves. Ever moves. He may not see it this way, but if you look at the head-on, it's pretty clear. And as we start into the backstretch, I'm in the 2-wide lane. He's stacked 3-wide. But because Hunter's off the rail a bit, maybe he didn't see it that way, and he's trying to force me back down to the rail. Well, I'm not going back down to the rail. I'm holding my ground in the 2-wide path. You can do as you wish, but I'm not moving. And as I start to catch up to Hunter, right, because as I start to catch up to Hunter, Greg tries to force me back down to the rail, hits my bike, and makes a break. That's irrefutable. Him hitting the bike absolutely happened. But how it happened and why it happened is the crux of the whole problem. And I feel bad. Would he have beaten me had he not made a break? Maybe. He might have. I don't want to win that way, but I do want to win. And I'm not going to let myself get beat because I'm not driving properly. And he could have maybe went around me, but he was going to have to do it in the 3-wide path. And the argument from him would be, well, you weren't keeping up. Well, that's by design. I wasn't in a hurry. As soon as you moved, I was moving, and I was going to hold my position, and that was that. My horse is clearly better than Hunter's horse. Maybe it's not better than your horse. I don't know. But it's clearly better than Hunter's horse. And as soon as he moved, I moved. And you can see it plain as day. He was trying to force me back in. I get that. I would have done the same thing if I was him. And probably the same result would have happened. But when it comes to that, there's lots of time I'm like, yeah, listen, I've interfered with plenty of people. I'll probably interfere with plenty more. But in the case of tonight, there was most definitely contact, but it was not initiated by me. And I know that Greg was not going to see it that way, and that's just the way it is. He's a big boy, I'm a big boy. We're going to have to get over it, and that's that. I think he's a great driver. He does a great job. But when push comes to shove, I'm here to race horses. I'm here to race horses for our clients. And that's exactly what I did. I continue to do it. And when it comes to Coup, listen, as I said to somebody after the race, maybe he would have beat me, but it wasn't going to be at that point in the race. Maybe he would have come 3-wide. Maybe he would have circled up and ended up beating me fair and square. I don't know. But I was definitely going to hold my ground. So that was Coup Deville's race. As I said, not without drama for sure. So second with Cutie Cumber, a fifth with J.K. Mickey Mantle, a good fourth with Stay Close, a win with Brace for Landing, a break with What a Mission, a fourth with Halakai the Third, a second with Five Fish Species, a win with A Sliver of Fashion, a win with Coup Deville, and a poor sixth, I think, with Unique Style. But he'll bounce back. So that is today in the books. Tomorrow, pretty interested in tomorrow's lineup also. Delicious Stone DK. I talked to Chris Lems quickly about him tonight. Atlas Hanover, interested to see him race. Steel Cowboy, really happy to see him. I want to talk to Chris just a couple more times about, or one more time about Steel Cowboy, because he's hard to explain. I don't want to tell him how to drive the horse. I should have done more of this or less of it last week to Ronnie, and not omit the fact that he hadn't raced in almost 6 weeks, or flat line in 2 months. A little tighter tomorrow, but at the same time, I'd like to see him drive him a little conservatively. Swinging Senoritas in Indiana, excited about that. Tactical Mounds, Nothing But a Dreamer is racing tomorrow to the 10-hole. And Pickpocket, I guess the biggest stake race to date now. Mounds had a couple of big ones in the summer, but I don't think anything is as big as the Breeders' Crown. As they say, it all comes down to the Breeders' Crown. And Pickpocket, 3-1, second or third choice tomorrow in Indiana. But for the first time ever in the inception of the stable.ca, we have a legit Breeders' Crown contender. Now, yes, I'm well aware that Carl and TCI are fast horses, and they are the two best horses in the division. But lots of weird things have happened in the Breeders' Crown before, and hopefully, with a little bit of luck, we can get it done this year. That would be wonderful. Friday we got Patrick DePrana and Spitfire Overseas as CEO. Mister is back in to go. Spitfire, we did opt for the overnight. I talked to you guys about this. It was a razor-thin decision, but really what it came down to, what was proper for the horse. Is it fair to ask him to come back from that giant gaping hole in his schedule in the summer to do what he's done and then ask him for even more just to step up and race against the best horses in the world? I just thought that a little unfair to him. We're going to opt for 5-2 in a $12,000 race rather than probably a long shot in a $25,000 elimination, when our goal will likely end up being to get to the Pegasus on the next week on Breeders' Crown night, and then the Carl Erskine after that. So that's today, this week, and the rest of some of the stake seasons in a nutshell. We'll see how all this plays out over the next few days, but for now, pretty good day. We had three wins, 3 wins, 2 seconds, 2 fourths, a fifth, a break, and a piss poor race. So we'll be back at it tomorrow. I will talk to you all very soon. Have a wonderful evening. Well, your evening is almost over. It's 2 minutes to midnight. Have a wonderful Thursday. Take care.